Every time they file an indictment, we go way up in the polls. We need one more indictment to close out this election. One more indictment, and this election is closed out. Nobody has even a chance. We've already defeated the Republicans. They're at 2 and 3 and 1.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. It seems that Trump was right again. Okay, every indictment that the man gets just means that it is a boost to his poll numbers. And he knew, just like the world knew, that the indictments out of Georgia were coming. Allegedly, the charges were filed even before the grand jury could decide to hand down the indictment charging Trump and 18 of his allies in efforts to overturn the 2020 election, aka for free speech, right? And for simply disagreeing with the outcome of the election and trying to go out of his way to make sure that the election was held fairly, right? Again, they're punishing or attempting to punish a former president of the United States for exercising free speech and trying to ensure that democracy is working correctly. Again, it's an amazing world that we live in, okay? 2023. And because 2023 is such cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs upside down world, what we actually got to talk about this video is not necessarily the details of this indictment. That's probably for another video. What we got to talk about is the mainstream liberal media reaction. And there is a reaction that I saw that I just could not believe, okay? The level of irony and hypocrisy in this conversation between Rachel Maddow and Hillary Clinton when discussing why making claims about the election, why disagreeing with the election results is so bad for this country. Again, I just could not believe the level of hypocrisy and irony and just sheer just don't give a F about what these people said in the past that is actually present in this clip. It is truly stunning and unbelievable. Take a look.
That the system of democracy at its heart is the idea that the people get to decide how we are governed. And if we no longer believe that our will is effectuated through the system, if bad actors tell us falsely that every election is stolen and that the only way an election is trustworthy is if they come out on top of it, then something it tells you something not just about that person or that moment. It maybe wounds us as a democracy in a way that is hard to repair. Mm-hmm. What do you think about how we get better after the wounds that have been inflicted on us through this process?
Well, I think, the truth matters. I think having these cases be brought in such professional manners, we'll see how they unfold. Obviously, the trials, if there are trials, are going to be critically important. But the article you mentioned that I published about the weaponization of loneliness really does, in my view, point to the larger cultural concerns, because the lack of trust, the divisiveness, the undermining of faith in ourselves, in each other, respect for our institutions, the rule of law, all of that has been deliberately inculcated within our body politic. There were trends before. I mean, we have seen how people have become more isolated, less community-oriented, less civically minded. Then we see how social media and technology has certainly accelerated a lot of those trends. But the deliberate effort to divide Americans.
Yeah, so the irony and hypocrisy in that clip is just legendary. It's off the charts, okay? These people have no room whatsoever to be talking about how bad it is to make claims that an election is stolen or boohoo whining and crying when an election doesn't go their way, when these two were some of the biggest traffickers of election conspiracies when Trump won the 2016 election. Take a look.
I think it's also critical to understand that, as I've been telling candidates who have come to see me, you can run the best campaign, you can even become the nominee, and you can have the election stolen from you.
We are still every day dealing with this question of whether or not our president was chosen, not just because of a foreign intelligence operation. We're grappling with this existential question as to whether his campaign was part of that foreign intelligence operation. Russia. Russia, Vladimir Putin, Russia, 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 Russia hates Russia, 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 Putin, Russia's Russia, 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 Russian, 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 Russia, Russia, Moscow, Moscow, Russia, Russian, pro-Russian, Russian, Russia, Russian, 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 the Russians, Russian, 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 Russians, Russians, Russian, 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 Russia, Russian, 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 Moscow, Russian, Russian, Russia, Putin, Russian, 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 Russian against us.
I believe he knows he's an illegitimate president. He knows that there were a bunch of different reasons why the election turned out the way it did. And I take responsibility for those parts of it that I should. But, Jane, it was like applying for a job and getting 66 million letters of recommendation and losing to a corrupt human tornado. And so I know that he knows that this wasn't on the level. I don't know that we'll ever know everything that happened, but clearly we know a lot and are learning more every day, and history will probably sort it all out. So of course he's obsessed with me, and I believe that it's a guilty conscience in so much as he has a conscience.
And let's not forget about Big Stacy down in Georgia. Since we're talking about Georgia, this indictment came out of Georgia, right? Let's not forget about Big Stacy and her claims that the election was stolen from her.
I do have one very affirmative statement to make. We won. But I didn't lose. I got the votes. But we won't know exactly how many because of how they cheated. I did win my election. I just didn't get to have the job. We were robbed of an election.
Using the word rigged, using the word steal, do you think it's dangerous going into 2020?
I don't, because we can actually back it up. And so in response to what I believe was a stolen election, and I'm not saying they stole it from me, they stole it from the voters of Georgia. In fact, someone outside asked if I'm ever going to concede. The answer is no.
This is not a speech of concession, because concession means to acknowledge an action is right, true, or proper. And I will not concede because the erosion of our democracy is not right.
People will make you mad. They're going to steal your election. It was not a free and fair election. I think the election was stolen from the people of Georgia. I believe it was stolen from the voters. Thousands of Georgians had their voices stolen because they were not able to cast ballots.
Yeah. So again, these are the people sitting on television on the night that the Trump indictments are handed down in Georgia for making claims about the election. The same claims that Hillary Clinton and Rachel Maddow made for years, okay, in response to the 2016 election. These are the same people sitting on their high horse pretending that they have any room whatsoever to talk about the so-called attack on democracy and how it's so bad and so wrong to question the outcome of elections. Again, if they really believe that, Rachel Maddow should step down. She should step down, and Hillary Clinton should throw herself in jail, right? But we all know that won't happen, okay? And I actually think that Kevin McCarthy had the best response when asked from a reporter about Trump's claims on the 2020 election. I think he actually had the best response I think Republicans should be using anytime they're asked by the mainstream liberal media in regards to these indictments and Trump's claims about the election. Take a look.
Look, I'm not on the jury. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know what's going to happen. But the one thing as a policymaker, I do know, I'm going to fight to make sure it's fair for all Americans. It shouldn't matter whether you're a Democrat or Republican, and it definitely should not matter in America if you're my political opponent, that I can use government against you. That is wrong.
Well, we can rewind that to, Donald Trump still saying the election in 2020 was fraud. There was fraudulent activity going on.
Yeah.
That Joe Biden didn't win.
Yeah. And I can say the same thing that Hillary Clinton says about her election that she lost. I can say the same thing about the DNC who said it about the 2016 race. I can say the same thing about those in the Democratic Party from the leadership on down about George Bush not winning, that Al Gore did. But were any of them prosecuted? Were any of them put in jail? Were any of them held with no response to be able to get out? The answer is no. So yeah, you can raise that someone raised a question. And in America, you are entitled to raise a question. You're entitled to question whether it was honest or not. That's the uniqueness of the First Amendment. That's the uniqueness of America. But you know what? You shouldn't be prosecuted for your thoughts. And the difference here is when Hillary Clinton said it, nothing happened to her. When they said it in Georgia's election, nothing happened to them either. You know what? When the DNC said it, nothing happened to them either. So stop using government to go after people who politically disagree with you. That is wrong, and that should stop now.
There are many in your party who'd like to see President Biden impeached. Can you tell us where you stand on that?
Well, the one thing I know is I will not do what the Democrats did. I will not use impeachment for political purposes.
Yeah, I understand that, Kevin, but you still got to impeach him, right? You got to do it, okay? You got to do it. We have the evidence, okay? I'm just saying, I understand that we don't want to be the same way the Democrats are being, but Democrats, if they had enough evidence, right, with what they had with the Ukraine phone call with Trump to impeach him, with all the evidence we have right now, we definitely have enough evidence to impeach Joe Biden on what would, again, it seems to be a shut and closed case of a quid pro quo between foreign entities in exchange for foreign policies decisions or favors that, again, Joe Biden and his son were trafficking across the world. I'm just saying, you have to impeach Joe at this point, okay? You have to go after Joe Biden, because what's happening here is that you're seeing the Democrats weaponize the government on all levels, and Republicans as well too, because down there in Georgia, it's not just Democrats, it's Republicans too going after Trump. You're seeing the establishment go after Trump, right, in a way that you're saying yourself is unfair, okay, that Trump has the right to make whatever claims he wants about the election, right? So you need to make sure that you are holding Joe Biden accountable in the same way that Democrats would go out of their way to try to hold Trump accountable, right? Trying to softball Joe Biden and say, hey, we're not going to do what Democrats did, is not going to win you any points with Democrats, okay? It's not going to. Because as you can see in that clip that I showed, that conversation between Rachel Maddow and Hillary Clinton, them kiki and ha-ha, right, about Trump getting indicted, okay, for making claims about the election, when they made claims about the election in the past themselves, they don't give a damn, okay? They don't give a damn about principles, okay? They don't give a damn about free speech. All they care about is winning. And I'm not saying that Republicans need to be exactly like Democrats, but at some point, we can't keep taking a high road with these people, because these people don't have a conscience. You don't gain points with these people by taking the high road. They clearly don't care, right? And they're going to do whatever they can to accumulate power. And when you're dealing with that type of enemy, when you're dealing with that type of opponent, sometimes you have to get your hands dirty and to fight back against them using some of their own tactics, right? But then again, Kevin McCarthy is a part of the establishment, okay? So he low-key probably agrees behind closed doors with the indictments and the political witch hunt that is being levied against Trump. He probably agrees. And that's why I don't really have that much faith in the Republicans in regards to actually impeaching Joe Biden, okay, and actually trying to go after Democrats for their crimes, okay, not necessarily over a political witch hunt, but for actual crimes. They need to go after Democrats and hold them accountable when they gain power. But then again, I don't trust the establishment Republicans to actually get it done, okay? I really don't. Because for far too long, they've been far too soft when it comes to going after Democrats the way that Democrats are going after Trump. But again, you see that your opponent, they don't have a conscience. They're going to do whatever they need to do to take down their political opponents. And see, people like Kevin McCarthy, what he don't realize is that that same power that the Democrats are levying against Trump, they will levy against you. They will levy it against Republicans who disagree with them, period. Again, these establishment Republicans think they're safe from the Democrats and their weaponization of the government, and it's like, no, you're not. They're just simply going to use it against you if you step out of line the same way that they're using it against Trump. So, hey, we'll see what happens. But, yeah, these people in mainstream little media, they don't give a F, right? They really don't care at all. They can come out here and say whatever they want about the election. Democrats can say whatever they want about the election. Doesn't matter. That's totally fine, fair game. But as soon as Republicans disagree with the election results, oh my God, it's an attack on democracy. It's the worst thing ever. These people are a clown show. I'm so serious. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.